What is up, everybody? Sean Sheehan back here with another edition of the betting show for Sherdog.com as we look ahead to a massive weekend in the world of mixed martial arts. Maybe no massive fights, but lots of fights. There is UFC, there's Bellator, there's Ankalaev. I think there's even some LFA and other stuff. So lots and lots of cards. And by the time this comes out, the Invicta card will probably have already happened. So a lot of stuff to get the appetite whetted for the weekend for MMA fans. I'm sure our dude Capoza will be very, very busy this weekend watching it all, as I'm sure lots of people listening to this and watching this as well will be. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, please give a thumbs up, whether you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever it might be, or if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube as well, just a reminder that these Sheehan shows are all over on our audio feeds now as well. There's newly up in the last maybe month or so, and they're all up there. I think we're around 60 episodes in now. If you search Sherdog on the audio platforms, it'll come up there, and you'll get all of our Sherdog podcasts there as well. Or if you just go to Sherdog.com, you'll see this post there, probably on the front page, and in that will be a link to the Spotify and other places. So very easy to find. Give me a tweet at Sean Sheehan BA if you can't find it, and I'll help you out. Yeah, get listening, get subscribing, and give the thumbs up. But today is for the betting show, and we'll get straight into it. I must say as well, please bet responsibly. Don't bet more than you can, and even bet less than that. It would be very, very advisable. We'll have some fun with it. 2 bets came off last week. I was very, very happy with that. After a couple of very, very bad weeks, so I'm back to winning ways, hopefully. Anyway, so we'll see how it goes this week. But yeah, I was happy with last week's showing, and hopefully this week will be good again. Still no flyer. My flyer bet this week is a little bit lower, a little bit easier maybe, but we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I think I'm 0 for 8 now on flyers, so that's not great. But I have a round of just over 50%, I think, on my 4 bets for the week. So that's not bad. If you get 2 out of 4 bets every week, I think that's doing pretty well. Now, I usually give lots of plus money bets as well. So I think for the year, if anyone wants to go back and add it all up, I think I'd probably be on. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, yeah. This is not units. This is not betting expert show. This is an MMA show for people who maybe like a bet at the weekend and stuff. And I appreciate as well. I got lots of good comments and everything like that. So I appreciate all of that from everyone. But no one wants to hear that. Let's get straight into the bets. The first bet I'm going to start at the UFC main event. And also, before I get into all my bets, funnily enough, usually I have a few fighters. Sorry, as I cough myself to death. I usually have a few props, a few fighters. All my 4 bets this week are props, all of them. So I don't know how it happened. It just did happen, and I could have changed it to make a few not props, but I'm going with it anyway because I like them all. Honestly, I really like all my bets this week. So I'm going with them. Anyway, first one from the UFC main event. I'm going for Santos versus Ankalaev over 2.5 rounds at minus 155. The main reason I've gone for that is how Santos has been fighting the last while. Everyone knows what happened against John Jones. It was obviously a very close fight. He hurt his knees after that. And, his fights since, he's had some good performances against Johnny Walker, especially last time out. But his fights against Glover Teixeira and Rakic were not as good. But he looked noticeably slower, I thought, in them, and slower not even in speed wise, like slower in his want to throw and his want to let things go. Now, I thought the same was for Johnny Walker, and I actually picked the over in his fight as well, and that didn't go very well. But I think maybe looking back at that fight, it was more Santos than Walker. Now, definitely Johnny Walker was part of it. But Santos, I think, has been fighting a slower pace. He's 15 wins by knockout, but he's 6 by decision, and 9 altogether in his career by decision. If you look at his last 3 of his last 4 have gone to a decision. So I think that kind of tells you something about the way he's kind of changed. The John Jones fight, okay, he lost by rear naked choke to Glover, and that was in the 3rd round as well. So, this bet every time in the last 4 fights, it would have won. So, or being close. Oh, let me look at that one again. the 2.5 round. No, I wouldn't have won in that one, but 3 out of the last 4 I would have won in. So I think, look, Ankalaev then on the other side of it, he's not the opposite, I would say that, but he is a guy who will wait for his shot as well and take it at the right time while being more active in between bits, you know. I think he's a really, really good fighter. If I had to go for someone straight up here to win, I would definitely go for him. We get to his price later on, but I believe he's a big price. But I do think this is one of those fights where Ankalaev will take time to pick him apart. It's 5 rounds as well. It's a tough matchup for both guys, I suppose, in terms of picking the guy apart, in terms of taking time to do that. And I don't think Thiago Santos will be an easy out for Ankalaev. Now, I don't think Ankalaev will be easy out for Thiago Santos either. It's not one of those ones where I see a big knockout early. I could absolutely be wrong, especially at the heavier weights. Who knows? But I like that bet. I really, really like it. And I think the over 2.5 rounds at -155 makes a lot of sense here. I do think Santos, as you know, the later the fight goes, will kind of take over a little bit and will land, but you know, over 5 rounds as well against someone like Santos, who is you know, before the John Jones fight maybe wasn't known for it, but from that fight and after that as well, I think he's gotten better in that sort of longer distance. You know, I like that. I like that a lot, and I think that's a good bet to start off. -155, not the biggest money in the world or anything like that, but I'm going to call this one a sure thing. I'm going to call it a sure thing, but probably not. Anyway, right. Let's move on slightly from that. I'm going to move to the Bellator main event now. I'm going to go back and forth between UFC and Bellator here. I'm going to go to the Bellator main event, and I'm going to go give the opposite bet here, kind of. Well, it was the over 2.5 rounds last one. This one for Burnell versus Borics, I'm going to say it doesn't go to a decision, and that is +135. And now it's a kind of an odd one, because this fight isn't too dissimilar to that one, in that you have one guy in Burnell who is a relatively big favourite, not as big as Ankalaev. I don't think, as I said, we'll get to that in a while. Against Borics is a guy who does weight an awful lot, and then throws that big shot, that big flying ear. He looks for his big shot. Burnell is very different, I think, than Ankalaev done lots of different ways, and it's a lower weight class as well, so we'll forget about the comparison for a second. But if you look at Burnell, right, I've seen him obviously fight an awful lot, considering he was in the UFC and then he came to Cage Warriors, which obviously I cover a lot over here in this part of the world. He is a really, really good guy in all areas. If he can get Borics to the ground, I think he can finish him. I think he can finish him on the feet if he gets enough of a go at it, if he kind of takes over. Now, I don't think it'll be that easy or anything like that. And I'm not calling like he's going to win by knockout, but I also think Borics, if he lands that big shot, he can finish anyone in that division. He really can. He hits so hard, that flying knee. He's patient. He's very, very accurate. It's a very even fight. A very, very even fight, and I really, really like it. But I think it will actually be a slow-paced fight for long periods, but I do think the periods in which the pace is upped by either guy could end in a finish, because if Borics is able to up the pace and land his big shot or his big knee, he could get the finish. If Burnell ups the pace, gets the fight to the ground, I think he could absolutely submit Borics. Now, you know, neither of them have lost too many times, especially Borics. I think he's only lost once. So, you know, getting either of those lads out of there is going to be a tough one. But when you reach that level, when you're at the very, very top level, you know, sometimes big differences kind of expose themselves, if you get me. Like, I have a feeling that Burnell's kind of fast-paced jiu-jitsu wrestling game might be a little bit too much for Borics. Now, I might be wrong, and Borics is good on the ground. He can fight everywhere, absolutely, don't get me wrong, but I just think Burnell is a different sort of level. And I remember talking to someone who I don't know if they rolled with Burnell, but they knew Burnell very, very well and had been at a good few of his fights, and they told me, like, this guy he's one of those guys that you don't really realise how good he is until, like, you're up close and personal with him. You know, he's just so slick on the ground, devastating, just a nightmare to fight, you know. So I think Yeah, I would pick Burnell to win it, in fairness. I think he will win, and I think he will get the submission, but absolutely on the feet, Borics can get his own. I think the pace, if Burnell ups it against the cage and lands some shots, we saw him against Saul Rogers landing some good shots against him against the cage before he took him down. You know, Burnell, I think, will be trying to push that pace. He'll be trying to push Borics against the cage and try to get him down. So yeah, the cardio issue is a big thing as well. And I must say with this, and this is the thing I will say a lot over the coming weeks, because the 5 rounds in Bellator is very, very new. Burnell has fought for the Cage Warriors belt before, if I'm not mistaken, so he'd be preparing for 5 rounds before. It's going to be different for even if you have prepared for 5 rounds before, or if you haven't. The fact that it's something that has been brought into the promotion, that main events are now all going to be 5 rounds. The difference in those fights and the difference in preparation and the lack of preparation time for lots of the guys going into them is going to make a difference, I think, in a lot of these fights, and it's going to factor into some of this. And obviously, you know, if you're looking for someone to finish inside the distance, well, if you 5 rounds over 3 rounds, it's obviously an advantage because there's 2 more rounds to finish them. So that's another reason why I've gone for it to finish inside the distance. I think it doesn't go to decision. Plus 135. I like that bet, and I'm going for that. The next bet I'm going for then is the co-main event in the Bellator card. I'll stick with Bellator for a second. And I'm going for Phil Davis versus Julius Anglickas to go to a decision this time at minus 190. So it's all decisions here. It's all props. But look, anyone who's seen Phil Davis fight over the last few years, although he, you know, some of these fights he has kind of upped the pace and he has fought a little bit better, we kind of know, like, he is not the most exciting fighter in the world. He's not a fighter who is going to see someone in peril up the pace and finish it. He is a guy who is happy to go to a decision, happy to pull a guy to a ground, happy to finish the fight like that. And I'm not criticizing that too much, honestly. It's a smart fighter is a good fighter, absolutely, but that does lead to long, drawn-out fights. And against someone like Anglickas, who I did a preview on his title fight against Nemkov, and I really, really like him as a fighter. I think he's very, very good. I think he can jab well, he's slick, he hits hard. We saw him against Nemkov, he almost knocked him out at one stage, but he just kind of got overtaken, I think, by Nemkov in that fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if he landed a few shots on Davis here and maybe won a round or two. If you look at the new scoring criteria, obviously, which I talk a lot about, anyone who knows me knows that, Davis's game at times where he's kind of jabbing from the outside, not landing anything too hard, and then taking guys down, maybe not landing massive ground and pound, although his ground and pound can be very good at times, don't get me wrong. That is not made for the scoring criteria. You know, it's not the best game in the world for the criteria. And if Anglickas can land a few power shots, maybe if you knock him down once around or hurt him badly in a round or two, I could see him winning a couple of them. Now, do I see him finishing Davis? No. Do I see Davis finishing him? Not in the feet anyway, maybe on the ground with ground and pound, but not really either. So I think the fight to go to a decision, minus 190, I think that's good. I don't think either of them will get the finish, as I said. I think it'll be a relatively even fight with Davis kind of just ahead. But you never know with MMA. Like, Phil Davis has been around for a long, long time, and Anglickas now has tasted what it's like to be at the very top. He's tasted what it's like to be against some of the best people in the world. And I'm sure he'll want to stay in that ebb, but he'll also want to up his game and reach the next level. Like, sometimes you see guys, they get to title fights like that, they lose, and then it's kind of the last we ever see of them, you know. But some guys get to title fights, they lose, and they realise, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to up this, and this, and then they become a really, really great fighter. They become an even better fighter. You know, GSP, I suppose, is the greatest example, losing to Matt Hughes back in the day. And, you know, there are obviously other examples as well, I'm sure, down through the years. Like, look, Francis Ngannou as well is a great example. They kind of get back on the horse and they go hard at it next time. Well, not next time for Francis, but you get me, over the next few fights. Could that be Anglickas? I don't know. So I'm waiting on that. I'll tell you after this fight maybe, but for this fight, I like it to go to decision minus 190. And right, the last straight up bet here is another fight to go to a decision, and that is Robertson again versus Aldrich to go to a decision. I've been a big admirer of JJ Aldrich. She comes out, she wears the Irish colours. I like Gillian Robertson as a fighter as well. I was looking, like, Aldrich is plus 110, and we will get to those odds obviously in a second as well. I was thinking of that straight up. When I saw the fight to go to a decision at plus 100, I couldn't sway away from that. I think whoever wins this, I think it's going to go to a decision. You know, JJ Aldrich is very, very good boxing, but she's not exactly, you know, a knockout artist or anything like that. She's 8 decision wins out of her 10 wins. You know, her last 4 in a row have all gone to a decision, and she had 5 in a row before the one knockout loss to Macy Barber before that, or even more, 6 in a row, I think, before that. So, you know, she's not exactly a person who's in lots of... She doesn't get finished very easily, and she doesn't finish people very easily. And if you look at Gillian Robertson as well, okay, she doesn't have as many decisions, but like 6 of her 16 fights have gone to a decision. 3 of her last 4 have gone to a decision, you know, against Miranda Maverick, Talia Santos, and Paulia Botello. Okay, she did finish Priscilla Cachoeira, who lots of people do, to be fair, and that's a bit harsh, but you know what I mean. So I just feel like she's becoming a little bit of, you know, some fighters go out there and they throw everything on the line and they get a finish, or they don't get a finish. I feel like she has become more well-rounded and more of a safe fighter, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. But yeah, I think this is going to be a close one. I think Gillian Robertson will be looking for, I think she'll be looking for takedowns here. She'll be looking for the submission. JJ Aldrich's hands, I'm always a big fan of JJ Aldrich's hands. I think she'll be looking to keep the fight on the feet and maybe knock her out, and that could lead to a bit of stalemate. I could see long periods against the cage. I could see Robertson trying to kind of wear her out a little bit, and I could see Aldrich kind of jabbing away at her from distance if she can keep the fight there. So yeah, I think this is a very, very good bet to go to a decision. Plus 100, I think you can't really stray away from that. I really do like that as a bet here. So yeah, let me know if you like that one. The last bet here, and I will go through the bets a little bit more fully here in a second, but my flyer bet for the week, and I've kind of ran through these because it's the props, I think, but I will go through the fights in general in a second as well, and more of them, because there are lots of fights to go. But I'm going for an Eagle FC fight in my flyer of the week, and I'm going for Ricky Bandejas to beat Ray Borg straight up at plus 450. Now, I was very surprised to see this was plus 450. I thought Ray Borg would be a favourite. I thought, you know, Bandejas might be like plus 250, maybe plus 300. But when I saw him plus 450, I was like, well, that has to be my flyer for the week. I'm a big fan of Ricky Bandejas. I think he's a very, very good fighter. He hits very, very hard. He's a finisher. And I like guys like that, you know, for my flyer bet, who can be losing a fight. Next thing, bang, they've won the fight. You know? And I saw it firsthand when he fought Franz Malambo here in Ireland. He did that. He was losing that fight. Bang, knocked him out. He knocked out James Gallagher as well a little bit earlier, obviously, but he was losing that fight as well. I could see this happening against Ray Borg. Ray Borg, you know, is a smaller guy as well for 135. Bandejas is a tall guy at that weight class. I could see him landing a few jabs, even keeping him on the outside. Borg comes in and Borg eats a couple of shots. Like Ray Borg in his last fight ended up winning it in the end, but if I remember correctly, had a very, very bad first half of that fight. It was one of those fights. It was, you know, he won the first half, and his opponent won the first half, and he won the second half. So if Bandejas can start well, which he usually doesn't, and you know Borg doesn't start well, I think it's one of those ones where Bandejas could absolutely do this. Like, this is a much, much more even fight. I said plus 250, 300. I think it's even closer than that, honestly. And when I saw plus 450, I had to go for Bandejas here. I just will bet on that power. You know, I will bet on his finishing ability. I like guys like that finishing. Like, that's kind of why I went for Borics Burnell as well, to not go to a decision, because I think Burnell will win, but I can't really bet against Borics' finishing ability, because he is a finisher, and you know, and can land that big shot. And I think Bandejas is the same. Okay, he's not the best fighter in the world, not the most well-rounded fighter, although he is a well-rounded fighter. He can wrestle, he's good jiu-jitsu, and he's very, very good striking and all of that. Don't get me wrong, but he is a finisher as well, and I give him a big chance in this fight against Ray Borg. Look, if it was straight up, I'd probably just about go for Ray Borg, but I do like Bandejas, and I think him at plus 450, I think that's a good flyer of the week for a straight up, just win the fight bet. You know, he could win it by decision, he could win it by a knockout or submission or anything like that. So yeah, I'm going for Bandejas on that card. Right, so those are my 5 bets, and I'll go back over them at the end again. Let's run through some of the other bets from the weekend here very, very quickly. As I said, there's lots of cards this weekend, lots of fights to get through. So let's go through it here a little bit. One quick mention as well. There's a BFL 71 card, and there's an Irishman fighting on that. Dario Synagoga even is his name. He is minus 225. And I've seen a bit of him. He's a very, very good fighter. I know my friend Andy Stevenson interviewed him for over in Severe May this week and spoke to him. He's a very well-spoken guy and a very, very good fighter. So he's definitely one to look out for there. That's just a name I came across here on Best Fight Odds. The bets are up here. So that's one I would encourage you to maybe have a look at. I'm not too familiar with his opponent, but he's a very, very good fighter anyway. Then the Eagle SC card. Obviously, on top of that, we have Diego Sanchez versus Kevin Lee. Now, as I record here, and I've waited as long as I could to get the recording out, but I can wait no longer. There's no props up yet for this, but Diego Sanchez plus 500 over Kevin Lee minus 800. That's where I kind of expected it to be, honestly. I said on my preview, look, if Diego gets on top and maybe uses his jiu-jitsu, he could get a win here, but that is very much kind of how can Diego win? I think Kevin Lee is going to win here. He's a massive favourite, and he should be. I think he'll keep Diego on the outside, land a lot of jabs, land a lot of big shots inside, and maybe get a few takedowns as well. I would kind of stay away from Diego on the ground, because if he can get on top and he can, catch him in a submission or something, Diego can be dangerous there. But Diego doesn't like to fight that way anymore either. He likes to fight on the feet. He likes to throw big shots as well. So I don't think Diego's game will even lead very well to Diego winning that fight. So yeah, Kevin Lee definitely minus 800 favourite there. Ricky Melez, as I mentioned, plus 450. Ray Borg minus 700. That minus 700 is massive. That's too big. I definitely wouldn't be betting on Ray Borg at that price anyway. I think that's massive. A few of the other bets there. I was looking at Magomed. I think he's a very good fighter against Impa Kasangana plus 125. Kasangana is Magomed minus 155. Definitely go for Magomed there at that price. I think Kasangana, just because he kind of came out of the UFC, I think maybe he's a little bit higher rated than maybe he should be. I think Magomed will win that fight, and I think that's a pretty good price as well. That would have been one of my bets, but I kind of I went for the other props this week. But yeah, I like that bet a lot. One or two to run. The heavyweight title fight, Anthony Hamilton plus 375 against minus 500 Kuniev. I watched a bit of both of them this week, and honestly, look, I don't know where Hamilton is at this stage. He's 40 years of age, a bit long in the tooth, so maybe Kuniev is the bet. But having watched both of their fights and looked at both of their abilities, honestly, I don't think there's that much of a difference between them. Look, I think Kuniev, if he does... Look, Hamilton likes to wrestle with guys a lot, but he can hit hard as well. If he can keep that fight in the field, I think he'll win it. Because Kuniev isn't a good striker. Maybe he's improved since those fights I've seen him in, but what I've seen, I don't think he's the best striker in the world. If there was a knockout bet here for Hamilton and the prop there isn't up yet, it might be like plus 600 or plus 450 or something like that. I'd have a punt on that, honestly. That might be a good flyer bet for the week. Look, Hamilton does come across the cage, take lads down in his fights. So does Kuniev. And it's hard to gauge where their wrestling is. I would probably say Kuniev's wrestling is maybe better than it looks in his previous fights. And if he can get Hamilton to the ground, I think he'll win it there. But Kuniev should be favourite because of that, I would say, but I think that those betting odds are a little bit long. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. Darrell Harcher is a plus 300 underdog against minus 400 Ahmed Aliev, and they're Nishan Burrell as well, plus 600 underdog, which is, I suppose not surprising at this stage of his career against Ali Sakharov. So yeah, there are some good fights in that as well. Honey Marks minus 220 against Reggie Pena as well there. LFA as well have a card this weekend. Everyone knows Jonas Billarino at this stage. He's minus 115 against Rafael Barboza. And there are another few names as well on that as well that I'm not massively familiar with, but I'm sure people will have a look at them. So let's get to the UFC and Bellator. and have a look at some of these bets, and just the straight up bets here, even because maybe I've gone into enough props this episode. Ankalaev is minus 550. Thiago Santos plus 425. I think it's a bit wide. Like Thiago Santos, long term, over a long distance, I think it'll be a close decision here, honestly. I think it'll be a close fight, but who knows? That's why I've gone for the over. Like, I think it's going to be a close tit-for-tat fight. I'm definitely picking Ankalaev, but at plus 385, Santos might be worth the bet. The Santos knockout is plus 750. That's not bad either. That's not a bad flyer, but I don't think Ankalaev will get knocked out. Some sneaky good fights as well on this undercard, and Sadiq Youssef was one I was looking at. He's minus 220. Him to win by decision is, just looking at it here, plus 150. I like that. I do like that. And that's one of the props I had in. He always wins by decision. I just feel like maybe Caceres will open up a little bit too much against Youssef, and he'll eat a big shot and he'll get knocked out. But you never know with Youssef. If I feel like he's one of those guys, if he had an extra 10%, he could be a champion. But it's just that 10% that's missing is the big issue for him. But we'll see how it goes. Marlon Moraes plus 205 against Song Yadong minus 240. At this stage of his career, I think that's right for Moraes. But you never know Moraes. He hits hard. He could get a knockout there. Moraes to win by a KO is plus 600. So not a bad flyer there. Love the fight between Carl Robertson. He's a minus 135 favourite over Khalil Roundtree Jr. minus 115 or minus 117. Plus 117 to minus 137. Robertson is the favourite there. If Khalil Roundtree turns up and he fights as well as he can, which you never know with Khalil Roundtree, I think he'll win it. So I'll go for the underdog there, but if he doesn't, he won't. Terence McKinney on short notice, he's the underdog again. I picked him, it was last week even, or the week before. He's plus 142, minus 167 Drew Dober. Oh God, I think Terence McKinney is the truth, honestly, but Drew Dober on short notice is a tough matchup. Oh, I don't know who to pick. Let me know who you're picking in that one, honestly, because I don't want to pick against Terence McKinney. I think he's that good. But Drew Dober is very, very good, so I don't know. Alex Pereira against Bruno Silva, Bruno Silva, I was looking at, he's no wins by submission, so I'd probably pick Alex Pereira based on that alone, But Pereira showed in his last fight that he's not great at stopping the takedown, but he's very good defensively, against the cage. And, when I say he's not good at stopping the takedown, I don't mean that. He's not good at being really competitive in terms of he'll win this position against the cage and on the ground, but he is very good at stopping the other guy. And the problem with that is if you do that 3 times, the fight's over and you've lost the decision. So I don't know, maybe Silva by decision is the bet there. If you like that, that is plus 810. That is a great bet. If you like the Pereira KO, it's minus 115. So I would go for one of those, bet both of those, and then you have kind of backed yourself there. I talked about Gillian Robertson, Aldrich. Gillian Robertson minus 120, Aldrich plus 100. Basharat minus 135 plus 115 for Trevin Jones. Schmelzberger is a minus 210 favourite over plus 180 AJ Fletcher. I like the Miranda Maverick versus Sabina Mazo fight. Maverick is minus 305, Mazo plus 255, Damon Jackson minus 110 as well for Kirk. Kennedy is a plus 130 favourite over Chris Matina. I like Kennedy in that one, to be honest. Even though he is the underdog, I go for Kennedy there. Brundage is plus 110 against Liam Bula, minus 130. And in a tough one, in Chukwi, who I really, really like, who will probably land a big knockout after losing early, plus 155, minus 180, Mur Zankhanov. Then Bellator. As I mentioned, no props really much up here yet. As well, I gave you a couple of props for the ones I could get. Borics is a plus 180 underdog against the minus 220 Burnell. We talked a lot about that, as we have about the co-main event. Anglickas is plus 240, minus 300 Davis. John Salter and Johnny Eblin is a very interesting fight. Salter is the underdog, a plus 240 here, Eblin minus 300. I hope this fight goes to the ground. I think it'll be really fun there. Saying that now, it'll probably be a 3-round stand-up fight, so we'll we'll see how that goes. But I really hope that hits the ground, because I think it could be fun there. Eblin undefeated, obviously. Salter fought for the title last year, I think. JJ Wilson is the underdog, plus 125. Plus 125 for JJ Wilson against Rabanov, minus 155. Making the weight as well. JJ Wilson is always the big issue. If he can make that, that might be a good prize. I think he's one of their best prospects coming up, but he's getting a tough matchup there. A few more as well. Alex Polizzi, minus 150. Jose Augusto, plus 120. Cody Law, one of the massive favourites here. He is one of their biggest guys on the way up. Minus 1600 for him, plus 800 for Adcock. Jordan Howard, minus 420 against Trevor Ward, plus 325. Very, very good fight as well. Derek Anderson, plus 115. He is the underdog against the favourite Goyote Yamauchi, who is minus 145. That's a very even fight as well. I like Yamauchi, but I wouldn't rule out Derek Anderson there as well. Dina Asarova is on the card as well. She's a massive minus 550 favourite there in that one against Ashley Dean, who is plus 385. Okay, we will leave it there. There's an FEN card on that this weekend as well. Ollie Thompson is on that card. He's a big underdog in that. Matthias Pereira we've seen around the place, and there's just a few others on that. As well, Marcin Wojcik is on that card. He's a minus 500 favourite over Powell Hadas. So yeah, keep an eye on that one as well. But yeah, I will leave it there for this week. I'll give you a run back through my bets again. I'm going for Santos versus Ankalaev, the over there, minus 155. I'm going for Borics and Burnell not to go to a decision, plus 135. Davis Anglickas, I'm going to go to a decision at minus 190. And I'm going for Robertson and Aldrich to go to a decision as well at plus 100. And in my flyer of the week, my big bet of the week, Ricky Bandejas just to win straight up at plus 450. Right, that's it from me. Those are my bets for the week. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. Shout out to all the team over at Sherdog, John Brannigan, Mike, and all the rest of the guys over there. Shout out to everyone for tuning into this. My name is Sean Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.